Hey guys, I'm the C-Man235, and once again I'm back with a shitty microphone. Don't worry, this is the last time for now. I will go back to a video camera in a little bit. Next video you're probably going to see from me is the Sonic retrospective, assuming Zach gets his notes ready, because he's getting some notes ready for that at some point. So who knows, you might see it later on sometime next month, which is actually coming very soon. It's like by the time I record this, it's already the end of June. I'm sorry for taking so long with this. I've had stuff to do, and I just haven't had the time. So, finally, now I have the time. Real life is a bitch, but real life is over for right now, just for right now, and then I have to go back to it. It's 1 in the morning. I'm gonna sit my ass down at 1 in the morning and record this shit. So this is the last of the E3 conferences that I saw. This is Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. You know, the shit that everyone cares about. Almost at the end of the month, too. I would still like to consider myself fashionably late, but by this point, I pretty much am not fashionably late anymore. So, get ready to hear all the shit that other people have said at the end of the month. Unless, of course, you don't give a shit about this channel, in which case, why the fuck are you watching? But, with that said, let's talk about Microsoft, since they're the least interesting of the bunch. I don't hate Microsoft. I'm just saying that I didn't find them as interesting. Microsoft's conference overall was okay. I don't think the presentation itself was good. Like, the way they presented the stuff was that great. Because one of the things that annoyed me, and Clement brought this up in the Brain Scratch recording that they did for their E3 impressions, which, Clement said something about this is with Dead Rising and a couple of other games where they pointed a camera away from the TV. They didn't show the trailer itself. They didn't just like copy paste the trailer and throw it on there. What they did instead was they like did this wide shot of the entire theater while the trailer was going on. I gotta agree with him on that. That was just really annoying. It got to me. It got to me rewatching it. I didn't notice it much when I was first watching it. But it did get to me once I was rewatching it, because I rewatched some of these. I have a list here, there's paper in the background, because I have that. But yeah. Oh, by the way, Dead Rising 4 is a thing. I'll talk about that in a little bit, though. So that first game is Gears of War 4, which I spent time on. I never played Gears of War, so I don't care, honestly. I'm not calling the games bad, I'm just saying I don't care, because I've never played any of the games. One thing that did annoy me about that, though, not so much with the gameplay. The gameplay looks fine, honestly. It's more the people in the game, like the characters. They would not shut up. This would be a problem that I have with a later game on Sony's conference. I'm pretty sure you guys know what it is. But seriously, they need to shut the fuck up. It's like, here, come over here. It's like, oh, just like that other time, huh? It's like, shut the fuck up. We get it. I mean, I guess they're better than those stupid pre-recorded iPhone things that they do when, you know, people at E3 are playing, like, developers are playing multiplayer games, and they're trying so damn hard to sound like they're actual gamers, and they actually, like, play games, like, and, you know, they probably are, but it's one of those things, like, you know how whenever they present a new game, they showcase multiplayer stuff at E3 and showcase what the game does with multiplayer, and how they always have voice chat enabled to try and sound hip and cool, but they really don't, they just sound really, really lame and stupid? It's like one of those. There was a lot of those throughout Microsoft and even Sony's conference as well, and it just got old after a while. I was like, oh my god, you're not selling me with this. This is not only really cheesy, but I would never say stuff like this if I'm shooting the shit with my friend in a multiplayer game. It doesn't matter if it's local or Wi-Fi or not, I would never say this shit with my friend. It just got so freaking bad at points. The new Minecraft footage they showed itself was a really bad case of that. I think it was actually recorded with an iPhone. I actually heard someone say, no, this was recorded with an iPhone, actually. It's like, wow, that is so unprofessional, yet that professionals got away with it. Another thing they advertised a lot was PC and Xbone crossplay, which I know wasn't the next thing they actually advertised. The next thing they had got was Forza, which I don't care. So, But PC and Xbone crossplay, I like it. I like the idea of crossplay between different consoles, but at the same time, I will admit that I don't really understand what's the point of having an Xbox One now. It's like, okay, if you can't get a good gaming PC, then I understand the point of crossplay. But apparently, you can also get like the PC version of a game as well, along with the Xbox version. Alright, so what's the point of having an Xbox One now? I might as well get a PC. You know, I might as well. There's no point in getting an Xbox unless there's some awesome kick-ass exclusive that I'm missing out on. So, I don't know what that's about. But hey, Xbone and PC users, have fun playing with each other. I don't know why Sony disagreed to do that. I feel it would make them some kind of green paper thing. What is it? Shit, yeah. I got it. Money. They would make them money. Yeah. Yeah, so. Both conferences actually showed off Final Fantasy XIV, Microsoft and Sony, so I might as well just talk about them both together. Final Fantasy XIV was shown to have VR capabilities with Sony in Sony's conference when they were showcasing VR. Did not look that good. It did not look well implemented at all. Like, Final Fantasy XV looks great, but at the same time, it does not really look good. The VR doesn't look good. The game itself looks great. It looks like Final Fantasy meets Kingdom Hearts in terms of gameplay. But in terms of like VR shit, no, it wasn't doing anything for me. In terms of the game itself, though, whoever was playing it was pretty damn bad because he didn't know how to dodge roll. The dodge roll, I don't know if it really is that clunky or if it was unresponsive or if they were uncovering input lag, but their footage was really damn bad of that game. Which is weird too, because Final Fantasy XVII, Final Fantasy 15, that game looks great. It looks like a lot of fun too. I might actually pick it up after I'm done playing Final Fantasy VII at some point. But at the same time, the footage they showed of it, like the guy who was playing it just absolutely sucked at the game. There's just no other way around it. He just absolutely fucking sucked. Because he just, every time he tried to dodge roll out of the way of like some weird monster, like some big, large monster, and he tried to dodge an attack, he always failed. So it was funny, but it's not exactly the thing you want to actually showcase in a game. The next thing was, on my list anyway, was Limbo, which left no impression on me whatsoever. So you're doing a great job advertising it. The next thing you have was Recore, one of the 10 games that Concept is working on. Concept, you know, that the people that worked on Mighty No. 9. That game that was so fucking bad that it got trashed by pretty much everyone. So yeah. Fuck Concept. I'm sorry, Inafune, but fuck your company and fuck your games. I'm not getting Recore. I don't care how good it looks. And honestly, Recore did not really look that impressive, honestly. Recore looked really, really lame. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It looked really lame. Maybe it's just my bias for Inafune's company and the shit that they've been pulling. And the whole, it's better than nothing excuse that the translator tried to fucking pull on Twitter. It's like, shut the fuck up. Stop giving our game bad reviews. It's better than nothing. Har, 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 har. Fuck you, asshole. No, that's just straight up fuck you. It's like, better than nothing. People spend money trying to help you make this fucking game, and you just say that shit? No. No. God, fucking asshole. I'm sorry, that's just, that gets on my fucking nerves when people say that. It's better than nothing, so take this shitty-ass game that has tons of graphical bugs, and glitches, things that don't work, unfair level design, bosses that are hard as fucking shit, and gameplay that's not fun to play. So therefore the game was not a satisfying purchase. Oh yeah, it's better than nothing. Go fuck yourself. Whoever, I don't even care if it was Inafune or someone else that said that. Concept can go fuck itself, so fuck Recore. Anyway, so now that I got done with my Mighty No. 9 tangent, next up was We Happy Few. Oh. God. That was not something I needed to see. I'll give it this. The presentation did its job well. It definitely looked creepy as fuck. It does look interesting, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's not a game that I plan on picking up, but it looks interesting. It looks like one of those games that is going to be more focused on story more than anything else. But it actually did look pretty interesting. I liked what I saw of that. Even though it was creepy as fuck, and I had nightmares for weeks after I saw that. Regardless, pretty much the game looks like it's going to be about a world where pretty much like it's pretty much destroyed. It's all grimy and gritty, and there's these men in these weird-looking, creepy masks that apparently drug people up to make sure they're seeing something that's happy and cheery and nice and lovely, instead of seeing something that's dark and damp and apocalyptic in some way. And like the guy who is off his meds, someone actually comes off his meds, and we're seeing that from a first-person perspective, and then people start chasing him. So you can go watch the trailer for yourself. It's creepy as fuck, though, so if you want to, don't watch it in the dark. The next thing they showed off was something for Witcher 3 called Gwent. It's a card game that you can play in Witcher 3. Never played Witcher 3. Can't really say I'm interested, but hey, if people wanted it, people got it, and that's not a bad thing. I heard Witcher 3 was a fantastic game, so maybe I'll play it at some point, and who knows, maybe I'll get into Gwent. So, there you go. People got what they wanted. Nothing wrong with that. I already talked about Dead Rising 4, and it's on the list, so I might as well talk about it again. It's a Dead Rising game. It looks like a Dead Rising game. It definitely seems like a Dead Rising game. Yeah, it's Dead Rising. That's great. It's a Dead Rising game. It's a Dead Rising game, guys. It's great. Yeah. I don't really give a fuck about Dead Rising, honestly. Honestly, I don't. It looks funny as hell, I will give it that, and at least it has a personality compared to a lot of these other zombie games, which I'll talk about a certain one in Sony's conference. But, yeah, but Dead Rising 4, it's a Dead Rising game. Best critique ever! Anyway, that's, before they showed Dead Rising off, they showed Tekken 7, which I originally thought was Tekken Cross Street Fighter. You know that game that Capcom says is actually being made, but we don't actually have any evidence of if it's being made or not. Apparently it's in development hell too. So I'm wondering if that game was canceled or not. But, yeah, I thought it was Tekken versus, Street Fighter, which, no, it wasn't. It's actually Tekken 7, and apparently Akuma is going to be a guest character in it. I'm not sure why they didn't choose Ryu, because Ryu is the main character of Street Fighter. But okay, Akuma and Heihachi were fighting in a CG kind of fight, and then they actually showed gameplay of the game, Tekken 7. I've never played Tekken. I've always been interested ever since I played Soul Calibur. Like, I know Soul Calibur and Tekken aren't the same. I know that Soul Calibur is very different from Tekken, but I actually have a demo disc that's the Soul Calibur 3 with a couple of Tekken games on it, one of them being one of the main games, so I should try Tekken at some point. I'll probably play it from the demo, see if I like the fighting mechanics, and if I like them, then I might just go out of my way to get Tekken 7 as my first Tekken game. I am starting to be cautious, though, because Namco... I understand that Soul Calibur 5 went through tons of development problems, mostly because Namco and the execs at Namco were assholes and didn't let them finish the game or make the game that they wanted to. But I'm still cautious about what they're doing with Tekken 7 because of that. I'm not sure if Namco is going to make a good fighting game or not, because while, yes, they've worked on Smash Brothers, that's more of a Nintendo's thing, not so much Namco. Namco was more used for balancing, and Pac-Man, and a couple of other things, but nothing really else. So, I'm going to wait till Tekken 7 comes out, see how it goes, because Namco has screwed over fighting game fans with 5 in the past. And I still like Soul Calibur 5, it is still a well-made Soul Calibur game, but at the same time, it had a lot of problems with it. So I'll wait and see. Until then, I'm probably going to play what people consider the best Tekken game in the series, which I think is 5? It might be. I'm not sure what people think is the best. If you guys if anyone that watches this video is a fan of Tekken, let me know what you consider to be a really, really good Tekken game. Like, what would you consider to be anyone's first Tekken game? Because I do want to get into the series. And if Tekken 7 is good, then I'll just get that, and I'll play the rest of the series for that. Including Tekken 4, which I heard was mixed. Not bad, just mixed. Might be bad, I'm not really sure. There was a pirate game showed off with battling pirate ships, and it had this really cartoony art style that looked like Team Fortress, and I have no opinion on it. Scalebound, which was done by Platinum Games, which everyone says looks bland and... Okay, I don't hate Platinum Games. I actually think Platinum Games are a very good studio, but I will admit that Scalebound didn't really look that interesting. But it's Platinum, so they're bound to make something good. I mean, I know TMNT Mutants in Manhattan was not the best game ever, but I heard it wasn't, like, awful, unless it was, and I'm not, then maybe it was, but... Scalebound looked alright. It didn't look terrible, but it looked just kind of bland. And it had, once again, that problem where, like, that Gears of War had, where people just would not shut the fuck up. Like, the characters in the game would just not shut up. And I get that you want to show witty banter in your games, and there's nothing wrong with witty banter, but you gotta know when to have the characters shut up. Because if they just constantly talk, I'm gonna hit the mute button. So, and the last thing that was noteworthy, this is just stuff that I found noteworthy from the conference, and, you know, Halo Wars 2, which I've never played the first Halo Wars, but I know my brother was a big fan of it, so, yeah, Halo Wars 2 is coming out, so that's something. I'll tell my brother about it, I'm sure he'd be semi-interested, so we'll see. As for Sony's conference, there was a lot more things shown off that I want to talk about, which, God, this video is probably going to be really fucking long. Oh, God, this video is going to be long. If you're wondering why I'm not showing, like, pictures or, like, video or anything, it's because, well, A, I don't have access to the video, even if I wanted to have it, and B, I don't really want to risk copyright shit, so I'd rather not. Anyway, the next, I already talked about Final Fantasy XIV with its VR, so I'm gonna just kind of skip that. The first thing they showed off was a new God of War game, which I was surprised. I guessed, well, when's the last time they had a God of War game? It's like, oh look, they're having a new God of War game. You're welcome. But, this God of War actually looked really cool. I'm not gonna lie, it looked interesting. Kratos actually looks like they're going to make him a character again, for one thing. And another thing, the combat looks a bit more... It looks a bit more grounded. It looks a bit more realistic. Not necessarily completely realistic, obviously, because Kratos is still the God of War. He's still super strong. He still has the white skin with the red scars and everything, or the red paint. Whatever it is, I don't know. Maybe it's skin. I'm not sure. I haven't really played much of God of War. But... it looks legitimately interesting. It looks like they're actually doing something really interesting. And apparently there's also a kid character that you're going to be playing with throughout pretty much most of the adventure, and that's going to be Kratos' son. Kratos is going to teach his son how to fight and hunt and how to defend himself. And it's also going to be more about Greek mythology than, not Greek mythology, Norse mythology? Yeah, Norse mythology, not so much Greek mythology like the first couple of God of War games were, which is infinitely more interesting. So, that's pretty neat. I wrote down it's a reboot, but I'm not sure if it's a reboot, if it is God of War, like, 4 or 5, or whatever the hell they're on. I don't even think there is a God of War 4. I think all God of War games are just kind of the same, and they just stopped after 3 numbering them. But it looks good. It looks really cool. I'm not gonna lie. After that, they showed Days Gone, which I have mixed feelings about. On one hand, the final the way they presented it in Days Gone Days Gone was shown off at the beginning and the end of the conference, which I do not get at all. But what they showed at the end did look legitimately menacing. It did look pretty cool, But at the same time, it had a sense of urgency that I didn't see from other zombie games in a while. But at the same time, the first time they showed it off, the story that apparently is going to be in it, it looks like Last of Us again. And I don't hate Last of Us. I've never played it. Blasphemy, I know. But at the same time, it just looked bland. Last of Us, no, I'm not talking about Last of Us. I'm talking about Days Gone, when I mean it looks bland. Days Gone looked bland. And it looks like another version of Last of Us, which it got the urgency part right. It did not get the interesting location right. It's like there's this protagonist that now I ride alone because my girlfriend turned to a zombie and I had to shoot her in the fucking face. And oh, depressing world, ride motorcycles, ride to redemption looking thing, even though that wasn't a good game. And done, Days Gone, go buy our shit, man. It pretty much looked like that. It had the bare minimum basics to be a fucking trailer, and it was so dull. What they showed at the end of the conference was infinitely more interesting, and honestly, I think that's what they should have showed next, because Days Gone did not leave a good impression at the start of the conference. And even though that second half, at the end of the conference, it looked a little more interesting, doesn't really mean much. Also, Sam Witwer, the guy who voices Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, he also voices the Emperor in Rebels, and he also voices Starkiller in The Force Unleashed, as well as the Emperor in The Force Unleashed as well. So, it didn't really seem that interesting. And my battery is dying, so I got to go get something. So I'm going to stop the recording here, so I'll see you guys for part 2, maybe. And I am back, and my pen fell on the floor. Thank you. Stay there. Anyway, the next couple, I'm gonna go down with like the stuff that I have listed here. I was going a bit in order, but now I'm just not gonna give a fuck. The Last Guardian was the next thing on the that they showed off afterwards, though. This will be the last one where I go in order, and then I'll just talk about what I found noteworthy about the conference. The next one they showed off was The Last Guardian, which it's great that it's coming out finally. I've never played anything that Team Ico created. I've always been interested in Shadow of the Colossus, though, so maybe I'll get the Ico collection for the PS3 at some point and play those games. So we'll see. Last Guardian does look really good, though. I like what they showed last year because it looked really cool, and it looks just as good as it did last year. Honestly, it's just good that it's finally coming out. 2015 was like the year for games that people thought were never going to happen, but then actually happened, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kingdom Hearts 3 came. Well, actually, that was a 2013 game, but still, they showed it off, so I'm counting it. So fuck it. And Last Guardian as well. Like, people were asking for those, and those games were like, never gonna happen. It's like, oh look, it actually happened. We'll find new ones to replace those. We still have Half-Life 3, and we still have Portal 3 as well. Those games are still there, though, so don't worry. We still have our games that are never going to happen. I am an asshole. I'm an asshole. Anyway. Anyway. Detroit Becoming Human is the next thing on my list. It's actually at the top. Detroit Becoming Human. It's made by the people that made Heavy Rain and Beyond, Two Souls, which I do not give a fuck about, but I did enjoy the Let's Play that SGB did on Heavy Rain. That Let's Play was awesome, and I'm not really excited on playing, quote-unquote, playing the game, but at the same time, I am excited to see SGB's Let's Play, since I know they're going to do one. Johnny, you better fucking do one, please, seriously. It would be awesome if you did it, please. Please do it. I don't care who buys the game, just do it anyway. But, yeah, we all know the story's going to be retarded, as usual. We already know it's going to have loads of fucking problems. We already know it's going to be stupid as hell. So why not make it as stupid as fuck as possible, just to make it so entertaining? That's what Heavy Rain was. So Beyond Two Souls tried to be a little more serious, but it didn't work because it was taking itself too seriously, and you didn't really have too many options in terms of choices. it wanted to tell more of a clear-cut story, and the gameplay I heard was terrible. So, yeah, so not very good. So I'm guessing that Quantum Dream, which I believe is the people that made those games, wanted to go back and just tell a different story. It's pretty much going to be Heavy Rain, only not Heavy Rain. That's pretty much what it's going to be, which, you know, is probably better for them. Game looks beautiful, though. Say that. The game definitely looks beautiful. Let's see. They also showed off Horizon again, which, Horizon had that problem where the main female lead, again, would not shut the fuck up, and I was getting really annoyed at that. It was like, oh my god, shut up. Stop with the stupid witty banter crap. If you're going to do it sparingly. But, you know, other than that, Horizon looks great. It looks like a Zelda game for Sony, and that ain't a bad thing. I mean, Zelda ain't bad, so, you know, this looks really good. And graphically, the game looks fucking gorgeous. Like, really, it does. The art style also looks really cool. I like the art style that they're going with. It looks intriguing and interesting. So, well, you know, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll pick up the game. Let's see, what do I have on my list that I have not talked about yet? Oh, yeah. I might as well get some of these things out of the way since I don't really have too much to say. Kingdom Hearts 2.8 looks great, looks amazing. I heard it plays well, with the exception of a few lag issues, which I'm pretty sure will be fixed when the game comes out. I also heard it runs at 30 frames per second, which I hope is not the case, because Dream Drop Distance runs at 60 frames per second, so I'm curious as to why that 2.8 would run at 60 frames if it's on the PS4. I don't know. They'll probably fix it when the game comes out, because it still isn't finished just yet, so. And I know Kingdom Hearts 3 probably isn't going to play like that. So, I hope it won't. There's also the new LEGO Star Wars that came out, so I am not sure why they bothered showing it off. It already came out. There's no reason to show it off. I'm done with the LEGO series, honestly. I mean, I did like LEGO Star Wars. I do like those games compared to other LEGO games, but I've been done with the LEGO series for years. I've tried to get back into it, and I do still like LEGO Star Wars Complete Saga. I'm actually playing that quite a bit, because the Completionist did a review of it, and that kind of got me back into it for a little bit, but other than that, maybe not. I'm not sure. Probably not. Probably not going to get it. But, yeah. There's also a new Spider-Man game, which is being made by Insomniac Games, which I believe made the Ratchet and Clank games before they were, I think they made Ratchet and Clank for a long while, but I think they gave it up after a little bit. But Insomniac is a studio that does a lot of great work, and the Spider-Man game in general looked really, really cool. The only problem I had with it was that the suit looked kind of dumb. I didn't really like what they did with it, but overall, I do really like the look of the new Spider-Man game, and I actually genuinely do like some Spider-Man games. Like Shattered Dimensions was good. I also enjoyed Spider-Man 2, the game. That was a fun one. Spider-Man has had its sort of hit and miss with games, but he's been better with games than most have. So hopefully this will bring some new Marvel games into the mix. Kind of like what the Arkham series did for Batman. And, of course, you know, Injustice 2, which, Injustice 2, that's a thing as well. Anyway, I just wanted to get those games off the list. Let's see, what else? I don't have much else on this list, actually. I guess I should talk about Kojima with his new game. He's working with, Del Toro. I can't say his name for shit. I'm sorry. I know who it is though. And he's working with him to work on a new game, which it looks very what the fuck, which means it's probably going to be great because it's Kojima. He works well with what the fuck. After all, that's why Metal Gear was so successful. So I'm also happy he's not working on not Metal Gear, which is interesting, but I like that he's going in that direction. So I love also the crowd as well when they showed off the game. Like literally, they showed off when Kojima went on stage to show off his new game. Literally, everyone was like, Kojima, 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 because fuck Konami. That was actually pretty funny. Hashtag fuck Konami. Just thought I'd bring that in there. Regardless, Kojima's new game, it looks very what the fuck, which is typical for Kojima, so it means it's probably going to be a fantastic game. So, there you go. Add another one to Kojima's resume. It's going to be great, guys. And the next thing was the news that died so quickly. Crash's faithful return for the 20th anniversary. What a phenomenal failure that was. Because not only is Naughty Dog not working on any of Crash's new games that are coming out, but Crash is in Skylanders. Ain't that awesome? Okay, to be fair, Crash 1, 2, and 3 are going to get HD remasters, but let's be honest here. It's being worked on by the same team that works on Skylanders, and they're not a bad team, but considering that they've been working on Skylanders, and Skylander games have gotten kind of, like, worse and worse with each game that's come out, I don't know, I don't have much hope for those remasters, so honestly, I've never seen news just come and die so quickly, and it is such a shame, because everyone was looking so forward to the orange marsupial, I believe that's how you say it, coming back to rain hell upon Mario in terms of his 3D platformers, and unfortunately that never ended up happening. So yeah, Crash, that sucked. With that said, there was also Call of Duty, and there's one more thing I have to mention, but I'm going to talk about Call of Duty first. And Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And now, I'm not the biggest Call of Duty guy. I have made that clear on a couple of occasions. But if you didn't know, I'm not the biggest Call of Duty person. I don't really hate the series, I just don't really get into it. I played a little bit of Call of Duty, but it just didn't really interest me. It's not really my type of shooter. I just find it kind of typical and boring. By typical, I mean it doesn't stand out from the crowd for me, which is weird because it's Call of Duty, but when I see other games that are out in terms of shooters, it's just, it doesn't really stand out in any particular way. That's not to say they're bad games, though, because I know Call of Duty, in general, are at the very least competently made games. And by that I mean, the gameplay-wise, it's fine. It's fun. And I will admit, Call of Duty, for the time I played it, it was fun. It was fun. It just didn't interest me to keep going, but it was fun. So, it wasn't a bad game at all. Now, I still don't think Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 deserves to be in the top 100 IGN lists, at least not that high. It should be somewhere around the 80s or the 90s, not somewhere in, like, what, the 50s or the 40s. I still call bullshit on that, because there's so many games missing from that list, but IGN is ignorant, so we're gonna ignore that list. By the way, Brain Scratch, you really have to do that list, because it was terrible, so just go do that now. With that said, though, Infinite Warfare, I gotta be honest, looks really good. Yes, you did just hear me say that without any hint of irony, sarcasm, or anything. It looks really fucking good. Am I gonna buy it? Probably not. And the reason why is because I don't like Activision's practices with DLC and microtransactions. But hey, it looks really fun. So who knows? Maybe I'll buy it when it comes out for, like, you know, $40 when the price drops and everything, or maybe when they announce some sort of Game of the Year edition, if they do have a Game of the Year edition and have all DLC included in that. I will admit, it looked really good. I gotta just clap. This is a serious clap. No hint of sarcasm. I'm not even joking. It looks really fun. It looks really cool. The way they blend the space battles and the main Call of Duty gameplay together feels so seamless, and that's something I've been wanting since Battlefront 2 for certain shooters. And it certainly has more space battles than Star Wars Battlefront EA does. You know, I got it. It looked really, really fun. It looked really impressive. I'm not sure how the space battles are going to work, but it looks like it works really well for the most part. The game looks fucking gorgeous, which is... and it actually looks more colorful than other Call of Duty games. When I first saw it, I didn't even know it was Call of Duty. It didn't look anything like it. And I know some people cried foul for that, but honestly, when I saw that, I was like, this doesn't look anything like Call of Duty, but it looks interesting. It looks legitimately interesting. I gotta give them props. It looks really good. And Modern Warfare 1 is getting an HD remaster, which... I didn't like what they did with the Call of Duty Modern Warfare remaster, because Modern Warfare 1 is a game that is beloved by a lot of people. Why would you only... I know why they're doing it. They want to get people back into Call of Duty. They want to make sure their game sells, so they're going to make HD remasters of their best games that people really, really love. Because people have been having a problem with Call of Duty ever since Ghost came out. Because Ghost was boring, and no one cared about it. And then afterwards, Advanced Warfare came out. It tried, didn't really do anything better. Infinite Warfare looks interesting, but we'll see how it actually does. I heard the first trailer was also terrible too, but honestly, this trailer that they showed at E3, this gameplay footage that they showed, honestly, to me, blows it out of the water, so I'm not even going to watch the first trailer. With that said, though, yeah, like, Modern Warfare 1 is remaster. It's nice that they're doing it, but at the same time, it's really, really shady how they're going about it and what they're doing with it. That was really, really shady. So, but, yeah, even though the shady practices that Activision has been pulling still turn me off as a whole, I gotta give them credit where credit is due, and every game deserves its fair shot. Infinite Warfare looks really cool, and I never thought I'd say that, but you got me to say it, and I'm happy that you did. So, good on you, Activision. Good on you. The next thing that they showed off, and the last thing I'll talk about, since I pretty much talked about everything else, is PlayStation VR, because they showed a lot of VR shit, and I don't give a fuck about virtual reality. I'm just going to be honest. I really do not give a fuck. I will admit some of the games looked interesting with VR. There was a Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing mission game, which, by the way, sounds like it's going to be kind of like Star Wars Clone Wars lightsaber duels, and we all know how that game turns out. Shovelware, so it looks like shovelware, which is weird because it's EA. It's being made by a game studio that should know better. They don't, but should know better. But yeah, I'll admit it sounds interesting, because I know that a space shooting type of game with VR sounds a little more interesting. Then it sounds like an interesting use of VR. So, and it takes place in the Star Wars universe, and the Star Wars universe is humongous, so there's so much potential with that. But it's EA. I don't think they're going to capture that potential. They certainly didn't capture any potential with Star Wars Battlefront EA, so I have a hard time believing that they're actually going to do it with you know, this. Batman Arkham VR is going to happen, which I do not care about. I think people just do not give a shit about the Arkham series anymore. After the whole debacle with Arkham Knight and how piss poor of reception that game received, I just think it's not gonna... I don't really think anyone gives a fuck anymore. Does anyone really give a shit about Arkham games anymore? I mean, Arkham Asylum was amazing to a lot of people. Arkham City was great. But then after Arkham Origins, people thought it was just getting a little samey, and Arkham Knight, which should have helped, didn't. It actually made it worse in a lot of ways. And then the PC port was the last thing that needed to happen. God damn, that PC port. So, I think people are done with the Arkham series, honestly. Or at the very least giving it a break before they get excited about any kind of new Batman game. We didn't even see any new because apparently there's going to be a Batman game worked on by another developer. Was that cancelled? Or was that the game that they were going to show off? Was it the new VR game? Because honestly, that would be really disappointing if it was just made for VR. I know they're also porting the Arkham games, but I'm not sure. We haven't really heard anything about that. So, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Resident Evil 7 is coming out, and it looks like Resident Evil wants to actually try and be scary again, even though it was never scary to begin with. But you know, it looks like it actually wants to be scary. I heard it looked really cool. I heard it did, so we'll see. There is more VR stuff that they showed off, but honestly, those are the things that look the most interesting to me. And by that, I mean they're the only ones I actually wrote down, because I'm a lazy fuck. So, yeah. Overall, though, the games they showed off looked really cool, but in terms of the presentation as a whole, Sony fucking blew it out of the water with the presentation, like, really. Not only did the games they had, like, the ones I just said, look interesting, even though there were a couple of disappointments along the way, like Crash. The way they presented it was really good. It was really well made. It was funny, too, because the crowd was just hilarious. The crowd was so enthusiastic, and that actually got me enthusiastic about the conference as well, even for games I wouldn't normally give a shit about. The way they presented the games looked really well done, really well shot, really well made. Everyone was on their A game with things, even things that people didn't like, people were still on their A game. And you can really tell that they were still passionate enough about E3, because Sony, the guy they had sort of managing the conference, sort of introducing everyone, was really nervous. Like, you could hear constantly, he was commenting, he was like, you have no idea what it's like to have an orchestra lead you out. It's awesome. You could tell just by his mannerisms and the way he goes about it, everything, he looked really nervous. But he got less nervous as the conference went on, because everyone was just loving it so damn much. It was a great conference. It was really entertaining. It was really fun. The games they showed off were cool. I love the shouting they did at the end of the conference, too, where they said, "Sony won! Sony won!" I was cheering along with them right then and there, even though I was cheering at a computer screen. But it was so much fun. It was a really good conference. Sony is usually my highlight for E3 most of the time, and once again, with a couple disappointments along the way aside, they knocked it out of the park once again. The presentation was just really, really well done. It kept a mostly smooth pace throughout as well, which was something that the other conferences didn't really do. Like, Microsoft didn't really keep that great of a pace, which is why I didn't really care as much for their conference, even though they did show off some legitimately interesting things. EA did this okay, but they have the benefit of only being an hour. Ubisoft, I didn't give a fuck about Ubisoft, and Nintendo, well, let's actually segue over to Nintendo, because we have so much to talk about with Nintendo. At least we would, if there was an actual fucking conference. I don't really know what to say about Nintendo, honestly. Nintendo, I knew, was going to suck this E3, and they did. But at the very least, I could say that the stuff they showed that was interesting was really interesting. So let's get the non-interesting things out of the way. They showed off I believe they showed off a new Monster Hunter. I believe that's what they did. I don't really give a crap. They showed off Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which is a game that's already out in Japan, by the way, Nintendo. Why are you bothering? And they also showed off Mario Party 3DS, which, if any of you are on my Facebook, which I doubt any of you are, you can go on my Facebook. I actually uploaded a picture, which was uploaded to the internet ahead of time, but I wanted to show it off. But yeah, the box art is literally ripped from a SpaghettiOs can. That was, Mario Party, SpaghettiOs edition. There you go. That is the new name that I have dubbed it, Mario Party, SpaghettiOs edition. Literally, I'll show the picture in the video, so, you can actually see it for yourself, because that is absolutely fucking hysterical. I absolutely love that they did that. It is lazy as fuck, but it's hilarious. So, anyway. Next up is Pokemon Sun and Moon, which, is Pokemon. That's not a bad thing. I love Pokemon, but at the same time, it's still Pokemon. And, I will admit, though, the footage they showed off was typical, and the new interface looks really good. Don't know why they needed to change it, because I felt the old interface was fine, but whatever. New interface looks fine. It looks about as what I expect. When it comes to Pokemon Sun and Moon, though, I do have a little bit more excitement for this generation, because My problem with Generation 6, and I talked about this in my video of it, was that the region wasn't as engaging as it should have been. It felt like it hogged nostalgia too much. The rivals really weren't that interesting. The story was fucking terrible. And Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire definitely helped, because even though Gen 3's story wasn't that interesting with its original form, the remakes actually made it a lot more interesting. I still don't think it's anywhere near what Gen 5 did, because Gen 5 was fucking beautiful. But at the same time, Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire was a step in the right direction for the main story. As for the Delta episode, not so much. But, hey, I'll give them credit. The story was... They at least had... The story itself was basic, but the characters were interesting. And at the end of the day, Pokemon... If you're not going to tell a good story with Pokemon, that's fine, but at least have some interesting and engaging characters. Gen 2 had that. Gen 1 sort of did. It was a little bit better in its remakes, because, you know, your douchebag rival that wants to beat you at everything. But Gen 5 to me was the best with that, because Generation 5 to me had the best story, and it had the best characters and the best gym leaders, because all of them were interesting. Pretty much all of them were interesting in their own ways. They all had their little quirks that made them fun. And they all had genuinely good moments. Really, I pretty much remembered every single one of them. Except for the ground-type, rock-type gym leader of that generation. He was kind of eh. But I didn't hate him, which was good. And the champion is my favorite champion, because the champion in Black and White, Alder, he is such a good character. Emotional-wise, he was a great character, because we could relate to him in the sense that he actually lost to one of his Pokemon, and it was a genuinely tragic story. Not to mention, he knows how to take the loss, which is hilarious. So, with that said, Alder was a pretty damn awesome character. Gen 5 in general was just the best in terms of story and character and personality. And that's what I really want at the end of the day. Generation 6 didn't really have much personality. It had a little bit of it, but it felt too familiar, and its personality that it did have wasn't as engaging as the other generations that came before it, with maybe the exception of 4 and 3, definitely. The original Gen 3, not the remakes. The remakes helped give the world more personality, which is something I respect from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, is that they gave the world more personality. And that's what I want. If you're not going to tell a story with Pokemon, which I would like them to go back to the way Gen 5 did things, but if you're really not going to do that, then at least give the world an interesting personality. And it looks like Generation 7 looks to have a much more interesting art style. It looks like it's going to have a more interesting world to explore. It looks like it's going to have much more personality. And, you know, that's what I want. So hopefully, Generation 7 turns out good. Sun and Moon turns out good. It looks good so far, though, so we'll see how that turns out. Also, the camera angles look amazing. Like, the game looks like it's running on the X and Y engine, but honestly, the way they show the game off, the way they have the camera zoom in as gameplay is going on, looks so good. I like how the trainers are always in battle. That is actually legitimately interesting. It looks like a pretty decent generation. I mean, it's Pokemon, we know what to expect, but it looks like they're giving it a lot more effort this time around to keep people interested. And, you know, we also got a full 2 years of development before they showed anything off, so I'm legitimately excited about this generation. So, yeah, Sun and Moon looks great. It's Pokemon, it's supposed to look great, so... So let's talk about Nintendo's actual conference, Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is the new Zelda game for NX and Wii U, which I could see why they thought they could showcase just this and just get away with it. I still don't think it worked, but I will give them credit. The new Zelda game looked amazing. The trailer that they showed off was breathtaking. It was atmospheric. It looked really good. It looked incredible, and I got to give them props. Breath of the Wild looks like a really good game. I like the idea that it's going to follow the philosophy of the design philosophy of you can go anywhere and anywhere you want. It's pretty much Elder Scrolls only for Zelda, and that's an interesting approach. I I do like sandbox-like games. I've played sandbox games and I've enjoyed them. I don't play every kind of sandbox game. But I do like games like Grand Theft Auto, and I do like games like Spider-Man 2 is a sandbox game. It is. Don't tell me it isn't. It is. Overall, it looks like a really good game, and I'm actually really excited. I've been wanting to get more into the Zelda universe, and I'm gonna probably play Ocarina of Time sometime this year or next year, so I can just play a Zelda game. Because I have never really played much of 3D Zelda. So I'm gonna play Ocarina of Time to get me started. I'm not sure about Majora's Mask. I'm interested in Majora's Mask, but I want to go about that game a little differently. I want to see a really good Let's Play of that game before doing anything, because Majora's Mask is one of those games that I think I want to actually watch and see the full game before I actually play it. And I know the game is one of those games that's more of an experience than a game, but at the same time, it's a difficult game to get into. And I feel if I see a good chunk of gameplay of it, and a good chunk of what you're going to get yourself into, I feel it would be a better experience for me overall when getting into the game. And I already know the full story anyway. I've seen Johnny's review. So, Majora's Mask is a game I might get into at some point, with specifically the 3DS version, which I hear is the best version as usual. And then I'll play Wind Waker at some point. Not sure about Twilight Princess, though I can get the HD version. And of course I can get Wind Waker HD, and Skyward Sword, I'm probably going to wait until they release an update on it, since, let's be honest here, you know they're going to do something with it. But with that said, Zelda Wii U looks really cool. It looks really cool. The thing with Breath of the Wild is that they actually announced this, saying that you are allowed to actually play the final boss the minute you start the game. And that's really interesting. It's going to be hard as balls. I know what I'm going to be seeing on Game Explain when they're going to be trying that shit. But I'm probably not going to do it myself. But the fact that there's going to be over 100 mini-dungeons and 4 main dungeons, it looks like they're taking a mix of Zelda 1, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask approach to things. And it sounds really interesting. The ideas look really, really interesting. It's essentially going to be an overworld Elder Scrolls type game. But that approach can work for Zelda. Even though I don't like Zelda 1, I don't like playing that game at all. I feel it's just really archaic and it's aged terribly. The idea of Zelda 1 was good. You can go anywhere, anytime you want to. It will still give you a general direction, like Breath of the Wild, not Zelda 1. Zelda 1, fuck no. But Breath of the Wild will still give you a general direction of where you need to go or where you want to go. The idea that they're gonna kind of copy the structure of Zelda 1 is not a bad idea. It's interesting. So, and artistically, the game looks fucking gorgeous. It looks like a prettier Skyward Sword, which, you know, Skyward Sword had a great art style in general, so, yeah, it's not exactly a bad thing. Graphically, the game looks fucking amazing. It looked really good. The footage I saw of it was pretty interesting, so. I really don't have anything more to say about Zelda, though, because, let's be honest here, you can only say so much about one game without coming off as a dead horse. So, that's pretty much all the games I have on the list. So, with that said, I shall see you guys later, and hopefully the Sonic retrospective will be up. I presume / hope. Bye!